Hey everyone, welcome to Bugsmashers. It's a whole new year, it's a whole new fun, and it's a whole lot of new optimizations. Yeah! Bugsmashers! So, I have here a fun little test level that I use all the time, and we are going to show some new stuff that we're working on and have yet to finish, but hopefully will bring a lot more optimizations as we make a bigger and bigger world. One of the things that we have issues with now is, let me just spawn into the game. Anytime I spawn an entity, say a cutlass, the game takes a while to load that cutlass in and it basically stalls the entire game. So if I'm in multiplayer and some guy spawns a ship on the other side of the universe, my game will halt because I have to load it in. Not fun. The reason for this is because when we load in this ship and all of the assets and all of the things that need it, it all happens in one continuous block on the main thread. So as you're running the game, you have to spawn, stop everything, load in everything, spawn the ship, then we can continue on. Not very efficient. And basically this is our interface. We want to spawn a ship in this particular case, and it's a blocking spawn. Everything halts until it is finished, and then we carry on our merry way. Instead, we want to use this idea that we want to spawn this entity, but let's have it in the background, and when it's ready, then we'll handle it. So a lot of the guys in the UK and in the Frankfurt studios have been building this framework that allows us to do this. It's not quite ready, but it is there in a way that we can start utilizing it. So let's get rid of this blocking spawn, and instead we're going to spawn a ship. Woo. We're going to do my magical ship. Entity system. I can't type for anything. So we're going to spawn an entity with our spawn properties that tells it where, what, and when. And a new thing is, because this is going to be an asynchronous call, like before, as soon as we spawn it, then we could access it. We can't access this right then and there because it's not going to spawn now. It's going to spawn maybe a second, maybe 2 seconds later. So we can't handle anything immediately. So we need to say, when this is spawned, here's a callback or a function callback saying, this is spawned, I want to handle it this way. So we're going to use C++'s awesome new functionality called a lambda. And in this lambda, we need to have our signature of a callback, which is the entity ID of this thing, which will be the entity ID of our ship, and the spawn params. We don't need these here. This is mostly for other features that people use. In this particular instance, we need to get the vehicle. Whee! So from this entity ID, we need to get the vehicle. So now, from this entity ID, we look up the entity, grab the vehicle pointer, and we access this callback from before that we used all the way up here to initialize the vehicle. But instead of, we have to capture it. So now when we do our lambda, we need to copy. So these guys are basically our lambda. We capture these values, we copy them in a sense, so that when our spawn entity has finished and these get called, we can invoke the callback later that we want. So let's hit the magic recode button and see how this magical thing works. Before recode finishes, I realized this won't work immediately, so this will make this vehicle spawn correctly. However, its items will still be blocking, and that will be a huge problem because now we're spawning something on the back end, but we're doing a blocking spawn for all the items on it, so we basically won't gain anything. So we need to convert our item port system also into this. So here's where we do our blocking spawn, and it does a bunch of crap. What we want to do is turn this into the same framework. Let's go back to game rules. Aha. So here we go. We need to get rid of all of this fun because we don't know what we need yet. We're going to spawn our entity. It's an asynchronous call. We're going to have our callback right here. Send in our spawn param. Send in our spawn params. Shazam. So here is our spawn entities. Here's our asynchronous call. Oh, we already have our entity from in here. Gotta close this guy. I think it's him. Whoa, yes. All right, so we're going to spawn this entity. We're going to do a bunch of fun stuff when it gets done spawning. However, we need to capture some of these local variables. So some of the things we need is the item port ID. We need our entity. Luckily, we have the entity ID, so we could grab that guy. He is finished spawning at this time. Get our entity. It's kind of a weird thing because it's like, hey, I'm gonna spawn this guy. Here's a callback to handle him at a later time. So you kind of have to write code saying, all right, once he's done spawning, what would I need to do, but push it into something that I might need later. And that's what kind of this guy is. It's like, hey, this is gonna happen later, so I need to store off all the things I need to do with him, hence the capture mechanic. We gotta capture this fun little bunch of variables. Let's see, what else do we have? Params. Oh, those are the spawn params. We need this from here. Ahaha. Oh, no, spawn params are from in this guy. So we're going to copy those two. Where did we go? Copy all the params. Copy more params. Shazam! We got everything we need, so when this guy's spawned, we could access all the fun data. Excellent. But there's an item port, and we need to keep track of whether or not we want to cancel this. So the vehicle spawning, we just spawn it and fire forget. This guy, we may spawn something, but a part detaches before it gets attached, so we need to go no. So we need to at least keep track of this. Luckily, I already set something up. So spawn entity, when we want to spawn it, it'll actually return this job and accessor. So we go, hey, I want to spawn this. If something were to happen, I could say sometime in the future, I want to cancel or abort or even reset it. For example, right here. It's more of safety code. It's like, hey, I want to spawn this cup 10 seconds later, but in 5 seconds I delete the whole vehicle. Well, that cup's going to spawn and it's going to try to access all this stuff and go bah. So this bad boy right here will make sure that if we ever need to do some cleanup, for example, we're going to delete this item port, we cancel any pending jobs. So now that our item port is asynchronous, our vehicle is asynchronous, let's go to our recode fun again. Shazam, recode is there. Now, if everything was done right, nothing should have changed. So we spawn our cut list, it gets processed, and it's now spawned just as before, and all the items are on there and everything. Shazam. We have framework for our asynchronous spawning. Now there's still a lot of the work to do to move a lot of the stuff off the main thread into some background stuff, but this is the foundation to get us there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time. So as you guys saw, we had a fun little experiment there where we're trying to build a framework for background asynchronous spawns so we could build something much bigger and start over. So as you guys saw, we're building a nice nifty framework to process stuff in the background so that your game doesn't get interfered by some guy spawning a cutlass a few feet behind you, or who knows, an Idris, which is a gigantic level, practically a level that you fly around in. We want to spawn and create everything in the background so it just pops into existence rather than stalling you for 10 seconds moving your mouse going, what's happening? But it's going to take a bit to get there, and part of that is building this asynchronous framework. You know, you build the framework and then you start working on little chunks here and there, and then before you know it, we have an asynchronous, fully systemized system on background threads. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Till next time.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.